Hey Guildies, Fletch here. Today I'm going to go straight into another principle. This is principle number 4. It's what I call the collaboration principle, and I have some other code stuff that I'm working on, and I will be getting into that probably tomorrow in tomorrow's stream. But today I want to just jump into another principle since it's a short one, and maybe we can get this done and be happy about it. All right, so business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. I'm going to start from the end right here, and we're going to start with the word project because I think there might be some contention in that. But the word project would not mean what we think of today. Today, we have a lot of different sort of formal definitions of these different sizes of scopes of work. And I don't think that the Agile principles, I know for a fact that the Agile principles are not prescribing a definition for the word project. So today, when we think of, okay, you have a task, you have a story, you have a feature, you have an epic, you have a project, you have a product, you have these different things. And that might not even be where you land the word project either. But this is not prescribing that. This is just that without having to get into detail on all the different levels and sizes of work, from task to epic or product, we're just going to use the generic word project. So the Agile principles are not prescribing to do things in project sizes necessarily, depending on what your definition of the word project is. So let's get that out of the way and understand that when they say project, they just mean whatever size scope of work of the thing that you're working on. So let's just call it work. So throughout the work that you're doing, as it relates to software engineering or software development, as it relates for developing, for creating valuable software, that's the work for that. So must work together daily throughout the work. So work together daily does not mean have a daily stand-up. It doesn't mean every day there needs to be one or more meetings where you schedule time, you make sure everyone sits down together, and we're going to make sure that we get together every day and do this. As a matter of fact, daily doesn't even necessarily mean daily or once a day. Daily means it's more of this along the lines of the spirit of let's not go an entire day or 2 days or 3 days without talking to each other. Let's make sure that we don't skip time in collaborating with each other. So more like, let's not miss a day. Let's not miss a day of collaborating with each other. It's not saying schedule a meeting at least once a day, daily, to do something. It's just saying let's not miss a day of being able to collaborate and talk to each other. Now, collaboration and communication are two different things. Collaboration requires communication, but sometimes you can have communication without collaboration. For example, if you go and you tell someone something, that's not collaboration. It is communication, though. And sometimes it's important. It's important to go say, hey, this is a thing. For example, if one day you come out and you say, I said that this thing was going to be done tomorrow, but it's going to be done today. You're not collaborating with them, you're informing them. You're letting them, that's communication. And we get into communication in a different principle, the communication principle, as it were. But the collaboration principle is saying we collaborate. The best way to collaborate together is it can be demonstrated in the feedback cycle, as is the whole spirit of the Agile principles. So before I get into that feedback cycle, let me go ahead and define these terms. Let's start with developers. Obviously, that means software developers and programmers. So that includes software developers and programmers. It also includes anyone else who is developing the application. And again, we're talking about an application. We're talking about software. We're not talking about developing a process or developing a budget or developing a skyscraper. We're talking this whole thing, Agile principles, for their use case and why it was created was for software development. So anyone developing the software, that could be, of course, programmers and software developers. It could be the software engineers and software architects. It could be the web developers. It could be the UI UX professionals. It could be the designers, if that isn't also the web developers and UI UX professionals. It could be QA. or SDETs if you're starting to move toward shifting left and having SDETs do testing instead of having humans test in part of your CI process. I'm not trying to throw out QA. QA is really important for human exploratory testing and things like that. Um, so that's developers. And then business people, where possibly testers could also fall, depending on whether they're more so SDETs or more so exploratory testing. Business people mainly means the stakeholder advocate, which could be called the product owner, um, or it could mean the business analysts, or it could mean even management. So business people are those people, mainly the stakeholder advocates. Developers mainly means programmers of all those different ranges, including computer science, data science type people. But it also means like designers, the web developers, UX professionals who may or may not do some code on their own, but those are all developers. These are people, DBAs even. These are people who are helping develop, which means moving from one stage to another toward a goal. These are people who are developing the product. They're actually got their hands on making the software, specifically software is what we're talking about, move forward. And of course, correcting, doing some course correction. So that's developers and business people. They must work they must work together daily throughout the project. I thought I was going to say I wanted to come back to something, but that's just the important thing to define for business people and developers. Let me think here. Work together. That was the thing that I haven't defined yet. What is collaboration between these people? Like I said, one of the most important definitions of business people is the stakeholder advocate. And that person is constantly getting feedback about the vision. They're going to know a lot more of the long-term or big vision than the developers need to know in order to keep that course correction. And they're going to know a lot more about the overall feedback coming in from stakeholders, whether that's either you've got one direct company client that you're building this for, or you've got millions of users. They're the ones who are putting that together and they know what these users are thinking. And so they need to be there constantly talking to the developers, being in Slack or something like that, in some sort of a chat that is tech friendly, not necessarily business friendly, but a tech friendly chat system where they can be typing information and developers can read it whenever they get to it, and developers can respond when they get to it, and then the business people will read it when they get to it, and they're able to collaborate by working together. So for example, a stakeholder might say at some point around lunchtime, hey, a new bug report came in, I'm going to put the bug together pretty soon. It's about this thing isn't working as I expected. I'm hoping one of you can get with me later on and we can figure out who maybe is best to work on this. If it's not you, we'll pick up the next person. Maybe we can figure out the complexity of this, and we can try to get it put into a backlog and prioritize it somewhere. And then a developer will come along and they will say, "Oh yeah, I've got some time later this afternoon. I'm finishing up this task I'm working on, this thing I'm working on, and I'll work with you." And then they collaborate, possibly in a side chat. They'll say, "Okay, what are you doing?" Maybe they'll get on a call and they'll say, "What's this bug about, and what do you think?" They might end up saying, "Oh, I remember who worked on this. It was this guy over here. He knows the best, and let's collaborate and get together and pull him in, message him." This is collaboration. This is what we're talking about when business people and developers must work together daily. And I'm not saying that you have bugs all day, every day, but changes to vision, all the feedback that's coming in, changes that you want to course correct on. And if not necessarily collaboration, then business people and developers still must communicate daily. And I get into communication later on, but this principle is mainly talking about collaboration, making sure that we're always there, we're always talking about what's going on. Another thing that this isn't like I might have said this already. This isn't a stand-up principle. This is not to bash developers over the head or to keep them accountable. This is not to say, "Tell me what you're working on today, and tell me any impediments you have," or something like that. It is the developer should. Okay, let me get into a second. This is not, "Tell me what you're working on today," because we have systems that show that. We have systems that show what work items, whether it be user stories or tasks or features or whatever it is, what work items are assigned to who, and so we know what you're working on today. That said, it is the manager's job to keep a feel, very much a feel of how well developers are doing. So if you're seeing developers with frequent commits going to production and they're writing their tests and they've got these commits and everything's going well, then you've got that feel for that, and that's part of the collaboration that the managers are watching over. If the business person, like a stakeholder, says, "Hey, I've got this bug that came in, and I need a developer to ping me, and we can collaborate on it and look it over," and then no one says anything, that's when a manager can come in and say, "Oh, hey, yeah, this guy, Fletch or whatever, I know that they worked on it, and so I'll pull them into the side and have them message you." Something like that. So there is a use for management in some sense. So business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. I don't want to get into my examples of communication. So I'm going to hold off on that. Just know that business people mainly means stakeholder advocate, which you might call product owner. Developers means anyone working on the project, which makes it move from step to step and grow. Most of which are programming type people, DBAs. Maybe designers are less considered programming people, because a lot of times you have designers, not a lot of times, sometimes you have a designer who just does design and doesn't do UI development or web development. So they're part of the process too. That's what this principle is all about. So if you like this video, especially if you like this shorter, I'm trying to make these shorter if at all possible. Like and subscribe. Let me know. Feedback is the best way to grow. So leave a comment, even if it's a comment that says, "I disagree with this part that you said," or "I agree with this part you said." Very simple. Not that doesn't have to be super complex. And hope to see you guys next time. Thanks.